So let's open it up to some Q&A.
Oh my goodness, we have several questions. What can you do if you are asked by your boss to create a more inclusive environment in your workplace? And while your boss is supportive, they just don't fully buy in and don't model the behaviors consistent with the environment that you're trying to create?
So I would say, of course, April will be talking about this program, Inclusion Practitioners, to get people trained and embedded and with the responsibility to work with the leader to create change. You're short of that, but first thing I might say, I would love to do that. Can we talk about how to have that a part of my role and responsibility so we work together and partner? So I learned from you, maybe you learned from me, and we're strategically thinking, maybe bringing in a diversity council here in the unit so that we really are doing culture change collaboratively. And I wouldn't settle for less than a 10 to 15, 20% part of your job if you can get it, and not add it on, but something else goes someplace else. So this is on your resume. I mean, it's on your position description, right? It's the negotiation with the leader that's critical. And I have to be honest, I didn't do that when I was in higher ed, and even when I started consulting for years. Today, I am better at negotiating with top leaders before I even say yes to come on campus. So your internal, I had questions like, tell me your motivation. How come this is important to you? I'd get to know a person, and just relate in. And then say, tell me more about you. You're my boss, but we really haven't talked. So tell me more about your group identities and where some of your passion is for wanting greater inclusion. And they may look at you sideways, but that's all right. You're inviting them into the conversation, and they may find more than you think is there. And they may find more than they know is there. And then I'd say, you having the passion for this will be critical, because how you talk about it, and then as soon as you say we're doing this, people are going to be watching you like a hawk. You're going to be under a microscope, and so your behaviors are going to be watched to say, is this just you're talking it or you walking the talk? And so if you want my support, we can be working together to find, because I know I'm still doing things that are undermining what I say is important. And so our coaching relationship could be important. Boss may not like that word coaching, but as we work together, I might be a confidential safe space that we can talk about how we each are showing up in ways that's advancing your commitment to equity, inclusion. And notice I said I wouldn't say that to them, but I'm doing it to you all. Keep it on them. So they're saying you do it, but keep saying it's there. So yep, let's do it together. Ask them where they see, what's their vision? What is an ideal inclusive organization? What would it look like? And, use their learning style. So if they're a drawer, say, just kind of draw me a couple images, or tell me a story of the closest thing you were ever in, or imagine what would be happening. These are all things I do in workshops, and I teach people I work with my consulting group to do. And lots of people do this. So, and then say, so you said this is why you wanted to do it. Can you say a little bit more about the gap between here's your vision, where do you see us now? What's the current state? And then have a bunch of questions there. You follow what they say, but if they're talking only about gender dynamics and only kind of cis male, female, and say, well, what do you notice about gender identity? And where do you think we are? Like a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is unaware, actively perpetuating oppression. 5 is not very aware, kind of passively. And 10 is active social justice change. Where do you think we are on classism, hierarchy, as well as class and current class? Where do you think we are in disability status? So I'm making a note to how to work. I think this could be a webinar in and of itself, or maybe it's 2 or 3. 2 or 3 questions like this. And I might bring some other people on just to get some other ideas. So all that I just offered is trying to get them to find buy-in and to model differently, because you said people are going to be watching you. And there's a lot more, but that might be some place to start. And then say, I'm willing to do this with you in partnership. And I don't know what that looks like yet, but we have to keep talking. I'm thinking at least every 2 weeks. If not, I can just stop in, even, every week just for a little bit to tell you and ask you questions. But for this place to really change, it's going to mean leadership has got to change. I got to change, and everybody else has to change. And you may not even know what that's going to mean. But for now, does that sound like what you're really asking?